turn now to the case of Private First Class Bradley Manning, who was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the crime of uploading thousands of secret documents to WikiLeaks. I spoke earlier today with Berkeley law professor and AEI scholar John Yoo about that sentencing. Have a listen. Welcome to the show, John. So you believe that Bradley Manning should have been convicted for aiding the enemy. A much harsher charge could have resulted in the death penalty. Why?
Well, Bradley Manning stole some of America's greatest secrets. He took them and gave them to a known anti-American website, WikiLeaks, run by Julian Assange. And that information has done irreparable harm to our national security. It contained information including the names of foreign agents who are helping us in foreign countries during a time of war, sensitive diplomatic communications, and even military, tactical, and strategic information. He's done much more harm to our national security, I think, than many spies such as Robert Hanssen, Aldrich Ames, or Jonathan Pollard, who've been sentenced to life.
But he did get one of the harshest sentences ever for a leaker of this sort, 35 years in prison. Why is that not enough of a deterrent, given what others like him have received?
I think part of the problem is, as we're seeing now with the Manning and with the Snowden case, which I think this has become linked, is that our intelligence agencies are getting worse at preventing people ex ante, before they do it, from stealing our secrets and leaking. So if you're going to deter people, then you have to be stricter and tougher after you catch them. Because if you're going to catch less of them, then you have to punish them much harsher as a deterrent. Now, if our NSA and our intelligence agencies could do a better job of increasing the security of our systems and preventing people like a Snowden or a Manning from stealing information first, then we wouldn't have to be so tough on the sentences.
But when you look at a Bradley Manning or an Edward Snowden, they seem at their core to be kind of naive guys, that they weren't looking to put people in danger. They really did think they were doing the right thing. Shouldn't the courts take that into consideration, as they seem to in this Bradley Manning case?
I'm not sure that's right. So look at the case of Jonathan Pollard, who's a spy for the Israelis. Unlike Hanssen and Ames, who really did it for money and for a lavish lifestyle, Jonathan Pollard did it because he wanted to help Israel. He stole information from the Defense Department and gave it to Israel. He did it to want to help Israel. He had, I think from his perspective, very noble motives. Or take the Rosenbergs, who were convicted and put to death for stealing atomic bomb plans. They wanted to help the Soviet Union. I don't think the motive should save them from doing something which is clearly illegal and which has really harmed our national security. That's why I think your consideration would be more important if it was a garden variety crime. But this is a kind of crime, a kind of act that's hurt thousands and thousands of Americans.
Do you think he deserved the death penalty?
I think he should have been eligible for the death penalty. If he were, then we would have had a lot more discussion of what Manning really was trying to do, why he did it, whether there are any extenuating or what we call mitigating circumstances in the law. I mean, there's a weird story out today that Manning's going to demand hormone therapy treatment and wants to be called Chelsea Manning from now on. If that were all true, that might be something a judge could find appropriate to take into account.
Well, do you think, and I've got about 30 seconds left here, John, do you think that the rhetoric out of the White House has been strong enough to deter similar kinds of events? I mean, the president has been pretty harsh in his rhetoric, at least, about Edward Snowden.
Well, I think he could be better and tougher. I actually get the feeling that when President Obama goes out to defend the NSA, he does it almost like he's embarrassed about it. You know, as a senator, he was very critical of the government's surveillance programs, and I think he's doing all this half-heartedly. I think if he really believed it, he ought to order his Justice Department to be tougher on leaks. Instead, we've got people like Edward Snowden running around the world showing even more American vacillation and weakness abroad by our inability to bring him in.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it at that. Berkeley law professor John Yoo, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mary.